Angelina Jordan's journey has a strong narrative, which means it can be turned into additional content. And additional content creates additional revenue. Now let's introduce something subtle but powerful. Emotional consistency. Audiences return to what feels familiar, not repetitive, but consistent in emotional quality. And that consistency builds habit. Habit leads to repeated consumption, and repeated consumption increases income over time. Now, let's connect everything again. Adaptability, future platforms, digital longevity, repackaging, narrative expansion, emotional consistency. These are not just ideas. They are extensions of the system, and they ensure that the system continues to evolve. Now let's step into the future for a moment. Imagine 10 years from now. The catalog is larger. The audience is stronger. The brand is fully established. New platforms exist. New opportunities are available. And everything built today feeds into that future system. That is the power of long-term structure. Because nothing is wasted. Every piece contributes to the bigger picture. Now let's bring this to a final understanding. The question was never just, how does she make money without releasing music constantly? The real answer is much bigger. She is building a system where money is generated from multiple sources. Income grows over time. Value is protected. Opportunities expand. And the future continues to add new layers. And that is not common, because most artists focus on today. But this approach builds for tomorrow, and the day after that, and years beyond. Now, as everything comes together one last time, one truth becomes clear. This is not about chasing income. It is about building something that produces income consistently, reliably, and sustainably. Because in the end, the most powerful financial strategy is not the one that earns the most in one moment. It is the one that continues to earn across many moments, across many years, across changing environments. And that is exactly what is being created here. A system that does not depend on constant activity. A system that does not collapse under pressure. A system that continues to function, even in silence. And when you truly understand that, you begin to see something different. Not just an artist, but a structure. Not just performances, but assets. Not just income, but a financial engine. Quiet, stable, and built to last. Because in the end, the strongest systems are not the loudest ones. They are the ones that keep working, long after people stop paying attention. And when everything is finally placed together, the system reveals its true shape. Not as a collection of income streams, but as a complete financial engine. Because at this stage, it is no longer about where the money comes from. It is about how everything works together. Streaming feeds attention. Attention feeds discovery. Discovery feeds new listeners. New listeners feed long-term revenue. And that revenue feeds stability. Now add another layer. Stability creates freedom. Freedom allows better decisions. Better decisions create higher value. And higher value increases future income. This is not random. This is a loop. A loop that continues to strengthen itself over time. And when a system reaches this stage, it becomes very difficult to break. Now, let's look at something most people never think about. The difference between visibility and value. Visibility is what people see. Views, numbers, trends. But value is what lasts. Consistency, structure, longevity. Many artists have visibility. Very few have value. Because visibility can be created quickly. But value takes time. And when you look at Angelina Jordan, the focus is clearly on value. Not just being seen, but being remembered. And that changes everything. Because when an artist becomes memorable, their work continues to generate interest, even without constant promotion. Now let's bring this into one final financial concept. Compounded recognition. This is when every past moment adds to future success. A performance today increases the impact of the next one. A song released now makes future releases stronger. An audience built today supports tomorrow's growth. And over time, everything compounds. This is how small beginnings turn into powerful systems. Now, imagine this process continuing for years. Not stopping, not resetting, but building, layer after layer, until the system becomes self-sustaining. Now, let's step back one final time. What we have seen is not just a method of making money. It is a model that is built on patience, structure, emotion, strategy, and most importantly, time. Because time is the one factor that multiplies everything. Without time, there's no compounding. Without time, there is no system. Without time, there is no real growth. And this is why the approach we are seeing matters. Because it is not trying to win today, it is trying to win over time. And in finance, time always favors the system that is built correctly. Now, as we close this journey, one final truth becomes clear. The question was never, how much is she making right now? The real question is, how powerful will this system become over time? Because everything we have seen points in one direction. Growth. Not fast, not loud, but steady. And steady growth becomes unstoppable. So while others chase moments, this system builds momentum. While others depend on attention, this system builds structure. And while others focus on today, this system prepares for tomorrow. And that is the difference. Because in the end, the strongest financial success is not the one that appears quickly. It is the one that continues, the one that adapts, the one that grows, even when no one is watching. And that is exactly what is being built here. Quietly, strategically, and with a level of understanding that most people will only recognize when it is already too late to ignore. Because by then, it won't just be potential. It will be reality. A system that works, a system that lasts, and a system that continues to generate value long after everything else fades. And even after everything we've uncovered, there is still one final dimension that completes the system entirely. Not just how it earns, not just how it grows, not just how it protects itself, but how it endures across changing environments. Because no system exists in isolation. Markets evolve, technology shifts, audience preferences transform, and the systems that survive are not the fastest. They're the most adaptable. Now, when we look again at Angelina Jordan, something important becomes clear. The structure being built is not rigid. It is flexible. Flexible enough to adjust, but strong enough to remain consistent. And that balance is rare, because most systems fall into two extremes. Either they are too rigid and they break under change, or they are too flexible and they lose their identity. But the strongest systems do both. They evolve without losing their core. Now let's go deeper into something even more powerful. Platform independence. Many artists depend heavily on one platform. If that platform changes, their income changes. If that platform declines, their visibility declines. But diversified presence reduces this risk. Streaming, YouTube, licensing, catalog ownership. Each platform becomes one part of the system, not the entire system, and that makes the structure more resilient. Now let's introduce another critical idea: audience migration. Audiences do not stay in one place forever. They move between platforms. They follow new trends. They shift behaviors. But if the connection to the artist is strong, they move with them. And this is where emotional connection becomes powerful again, because it is not tied to a platform. It is tied to the artist. Angelina Jordan's connection with her audience appears to operate on that deeper level, which means her audience is not fixed. It is transferable, and that increases long-term stability. Now let's explore another layer: content rediscovery cycles. In the digital world, content does not move in a straight line. It moves in cycles. A video can go unnoticed, then suddenly gain attention again. A song can remain quiet, then become popular years later. This is called rediscovery, and rediscovery creates new income from old content. Now imagine multiple pieces of content going through these cycles. That creates waves of income over time. Not constant, but recurring. And recurring value strengthens the system. Now let's move into something even deeper. Cultural positioning. Some artists are tied to a moment. Others become part of a broader cultural space. When music connects on a deeper level, it transcends time. It becomes something people return to during different phases of life. And that increases long-term relevance. Angelina Jordan's style leans toward this type of positioning, which means her work has the potential to exist beyond trends. Now let's introduce another advanced concept: value layering over time. At the beginning, value is simple: a song, a performance. But over time, more layers are added: recognition, reputation, legacy, and each layer increases overall value. So even if the income from one source remains stable, the total value continues to grow. Now let's connect this to financial reality. In many industries, assets lose value over time. But in creative industries, strong assets can gain value, especially when they are tied to emotion and memory. And this is where everything becomes clear. Angelina Jordan's system is not just producing income. It is building assets that appreciate. Now, let's take one final step back. Everything we have discussed, from the beginning until now, points to one complete structure. A structure that earns through multiple streams, grows through compounding, protects through control, adapts through flexibility, endures through time. And this is what makes it powerful, because it does not rely on one factor. It is supported by many. Now, imagine this structure continuing forward. More content added, more audiences reached, more opportunities created. The same system, but stronger. And stronger systems produce stronger outcomes. Now, as we close this entire breakdown, one final realization stands above everything else. The real advantage is not talent alone. It is not timing alone. It is not even opportunity alone. It is structure, because structure determines how everything else performs. And when structure is correct, growth becomes natural, not forced, not rushed, but consistent. And consistency is what creates long-term success. So while many people focus on what is happening right now, the real story is happening across time, layer by layer, decision by decision, building something that does not depend on one moment, but benefits from many. And when that process continues long enough, the result becomes clear, not as a sudden breakthrough, but as a steady rise, a rise that is built on understanding, a rise that is supported by structure, and a rise that continues long after others have faded. Because in the end, the strongest financial systems are not the ones that shine the brightest for a moment. They are the ones that keep working, year after year, quietly, consistently, and without needing constant attention. And that is exactly what has been built here. Not just a career, but a system that earns, a system that grows, and a system that lasts. And when you look at everything one last time, not as separate ideas, but as one complete system, a deeper truth begins to reveal itself. This is not just about income. It is about control over time. Because the real advantage is not how much money is made today. It is how much control exists over what happens tomorrow. And control comes from structure. Structure comes from decisions. And decisions, when repeated over time, create direction. Now, when you follow that direction closely, you begin to notice something powerful. Nothing in this system is wasted. Every song has purpose. Every performance has impact. Every moment contributes to the whole. And that is what makes it efficient. Because efficiency is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters. Now, let's go deeper into something even more subtle. Energy allocation. In finance, energy is a resource. Time, focus, creativity. And where that energy is placed determines the outcome. Many artists spread their energy everywhere. Too many projects, too many appearances, too many distractions, and that reduces effectiveness. But concentrated energy creates stronger results. Angelina Jordan's approach shows signs of concentration. Less noise, more intention. And intention produces higher quality output. Now connect that to value. Higher quality leads to higher longevity. Higher longevity leads to more income over time. And that creates a cycle of efficiency and growth. Now let's explore something deeper again. Financial silence. This is where the system becomes almost invisible. Because not all growth needs to be seen. Some of the strongest systems operate quietly. They do not depend on constant validation. They do not need continuous attention. They simply function. And over time, that quiet function becomes powerful. Because while others are focused on being seen, this system is focused on being built. Now let's take another step forward. Time stacking. Every year adds value. Every release adds weight. Every listener adds reach. And instead of resetting, everything stacks. Nothing is lost. Everything accumulates. And accumulation is what creates strength. Because small gains, repeated over time, become large outcomes. Now, let's imagine something. 10 years pass. The catalog is deeper. The audience is wider. The system is stronger. And everything built today has multiplied, not because of sudden success, but because of consistent structure. Now, at that point, something changes. The system no longer needs to prove itself. It becomes self-evident because the results speak, not loudly, but clearly. Now let's bring this to one final idea. Inevitable value. This is when growth becomes unavoidable. When a structure is strong and time has been applied long enough, the outcome becomes predictable, not guaranteed in speed, but guaranteed in direction. And that direction leads upward because everything is aligned. Now step back and look at it again. Multiple income streams, strong emotional connection, long-term asset building, controlled visibility, strategic patience. This is not a random combination. This is alignment. And alignment creates power. Because when everything works together, nothing is wasted. Now, as we close this journey completely, one final truth stands above everything else. Success is not just about what you do. It is about how what you do continues to work after you have done it. And that is the difference. Because most people create moments, but systems create momentum. And momentum creates outcomes. Outcomes that grow. Outcomes that expand. Outcomes that continue. And that is what has been built here. Not just a series of actions, but a system of results. A system that does not rely on constant input, but produces continuous output. And when you truly understand that, everything changes. Because you're no longer looking at what is happening now. You're looking at what is being built over time. And time is the most powerful multiplier of all. Because with enough time, even quiet systems become unstoppable. Even slow growth becomes massive. Even simple structures become dominant. And that is where everything leads. Not to a moment of success, but to a state of strength. A state where the system no longer depends on effort alone, but operates on structure. And structure is what lasts. Long after attention fades. Long after trends change. Long after noise disappears. Because in the end, the strongest systems are not the ones that shine the brightest for a moment. They are the ones that keep working, quietly, consistently, relentlessly, until the results can no longer be ignored. And even at this final stage, there's one more idea that quietly defines everything we've been building toward. Not growth, not income, not even structure, but continuity. Because the real strength of any financial system is not just how it performs once. It is how it continues to perform over time without breaking. Continuity means the system does not depend on one moment. It does not depend on one hit. It does not depend on one opportunity. Instead, it is designed to keep functioning across different conditions, across different phases, across different levels of visibility. And this is where the full picture becomes clear. Angelina Jordan is not operating in cycles of rise and fall. She is operating in a line of continuity, a line that moves forward steadily, without sharp spikes, without sudden collapses. And that kind of movement is rare, because most careers are unstable. They rise quickly, then struggle to maintain that level. But continuity removes that instability. It replaces it with direction. Now let's take this one step further. When continuity is strong, it creates predictability, not in exact numbers, but in trajectory. You can begin to see where things are going. You can begin to understand how value will grow. And that reduces uncertainty, which is one of the most powerful advantages in finance. Because uncertainty creates risk, but structured continuity reduces it. Now, as everything comes together for the final time, one truth stands clearly above the rest. This is not about chasing success. It is about building something that continues to succeed, even when attention shifts, even when trends change, even when the environment evolves. And that is the highest level of financial thinking, not reacting to the moment, but designing for the future. Because when a system is built with continuity, it does not need to restart. It simply keeps moving forward, growing, expanding. And over time, that steady movement becomes powerful, not because it was loud, but because it never stopped. And in the end, that is what defines lasting success. Not how high something rises once, but how long it continues to rise without losing its foundation. And that is exactly what has been built here. A system that moves forward, a system that grows, and a system that continues, no matter what changes around it. And once you understand continuity, the next level is something even deeper. Because continuity explains stability, but it does not fully explain expansion. And expansion is what turns a stable system into a growing system. So the next question becomes important. How does a system grow without breaking its structure? The answer is controlled expansion. Controlled expansion means growth that does not overwhelm the foundation. It means every new layer is added carefully, not randomly, not emotionally, not impulsively. And when we apply this idea to Angelina Jordan, something important becomes visible. Her career does not expand in sudden jumps. It expands in layers. Each layer builds on the previous one. Each step reinforces the last. Now let's break that down into financial logic. In most systems, expansion creates instability, because more income sources usually means more complexity. More complexity means more risk. But controlled expansion does the opposite. It increases value while maintaining stability. Now let's move deeper. 1. Layered income expansion. In financial systems, layering is critical. Layer 1, core income. Layer 2, secondary income. Layer 3, passive income. Layer 4, asset-based income. Each layer works independently, but also supports the others. In music systems like hers, this could include streaming revenue, YouTube monetization, catalog royalties, licensing deals, long-term rights value. Now here is the key insight. Each layer does not replace the other. It multiplies the total system value. So even if one layer slows down, the system continues functioning. That is financial resilience. 2. Audience to capital conversion. Most people misunderstand audiences. They think an audience is just attention. But in finance, an audience is capital. Because attention can be converted into streams, revenue, licensing demand, long-term asset value. But only if the audience is stable. And stability comes from emotional connection. Not hype, not trends, but consistency of experience. This is where Angelina Jordan's audience structure becomes important. Because her audience is not built on short-term virality. It is built on emotional recognition. And emotional recognition lasts longer than trends. 3. Asset transformation over time. Now let's move deeper into financial evolution. Every piece of music starts as content, but over time, it becomes an asset. And assets behave differently from content. Content is consumed. Assets generate value repeatedly. A single performance can generate streams, be replayed for years, be licensed later, be rediscovered globally. This is transformation from content asset. And this transformation is what builds long-term wealth. 4. Compounding reputation value. Reputation is not static. It compounds. Each positive moment increases future trust. Each consistent performance increases perceived value. Each emotional connection strengthens audience loyalty. And over time, this creates what finance calls reputation equity, which directly affects opportunity quality, deal strength, income potential, global positioning. For an artist like Angelina Jordan, this means her past work continues influencing future value, even without new releases. 5. Global redistribution effect. Now we move into macro-level finance behavior. Digital music is not localized. It is global, which means income does not depend on one economy. It is distributed across Europe, Americas, Asia, streaming platforms worldwide. This reduces dependency risk and increases system durability, because when one region slows, others continue. That is financial balancing. 6. Long-tail revenue principle. In finance, long-tail revenue means small earnings continuing for long periods, instead of large spikes that disappear. This is extremely important in music systems, because songs do not stop earning after release. They continue generating value years later, across platforms, through rediscovery, and long-tail revenue is what builds silent wealth. 7. System independence. At a certain point, strong systems become independent of daily input. They no longer rely on constant action. They rely on accumulated structure. This is where the system begins to stabilize itself. Income becomes less reactive, more predictable, more structural, and that is the highest level of financial maturity. Final shift, the real structure. Now, when we combine everything, layered income, audience capital, asset transformation, reputation compounding, global distribution, long-tail revenue, system independence, we do not see random success. We see a self-reinforcing financial ecosystem. And ecosystems do not depend on single actions. They depend on structure, time, and interaction between layers. That is why the system continues working even when activity slows. Because it is no longer powered by effort alone. It is powered by accumulation. And accumulation does not stop. It only grows. And that is the final financial truth behind this entire system. Not speed, not hype, not visibility, but structured accumulation over time. And once the system reaches a level of independence, the next stage is not growth anymore. It is self-sustainability. Because growth still implies effort, but sustainability implies structure. And structure, once established correctly, begins to behave differently from everything else. It stops reacting. It starts maintaining itself. Now, this is where we bring everything together around Angelina Jordan in a more complete financial interpretation. Because at this stage, we are no longer analyzing just income streams. We are analyzing a self-maintaining, creative financial system. And systems like this are rare in the entertainment world. Most careers require constant input, constant promotion, constant visibility, constant output, constant reinvention. But systems built on layered value do not operate the same way. They rely on accumulated infrastructure. And infrastructure does not disappear when activity slows. It remains active in the background. Now, let's go deeper into how this actually works. 1. The background economy effect. Every strong digital artist has what we can call a background economy. This means, even when nothing new is happening publicly, value is still being generated privately. How? Through existing catalog streams, algorithm resurfacing, search-based discovery, organic sharing cycles. This is extremely important because it means income is no longer tied to activity. It is tied to existence of content plus demand cycles. And demand cycles do not require constant input. They operate independently. 2. Algorithmic memory systems. Digital platforms do not forget. They store behavioral patterns. When a piece of content performs emotionally strong, it is marked as reusable. That means it can be recommended again. It can re-enter circulation. It can be resurfaced years later. This creates a financial loop that repeats without new production. So performance is not a single event. It becomes a recurring financial trigger. 3. Emotional indexing value. Now we move deeper. Not all content is indexed equally. Platforms prioritize emotional response. Content that generates retention, replay, emotional engagement gets higher long-term visibility weight. This is where artists like Angelina Jordan gain structural advantage, because emotional depth creates algorithmic priority, and algorithmic priority creates long-term income flow. Not spikes, but cycles. 4. Time-distributed monetization. Most people think income is immediate, but in structured systems, income is distributed across time. A single performance may generate value in Year 1, views plus engagement. Year 2, rediscovery. Year 3, playlist rotation. Year 5 plus, nostalgic resurgence. This is what we call time-distributed monetization, and it is one of the strongest financial models in digital music because it removes expiration. 5. Identity locking effect. Once an artist becomes emotionally defined in public memory, that identity becomes locked. Meaning, people do not see random content. They see a consistent identity. An identity locking creates stable audience expectation, predictable engagement behavior, long-term brand retention. This reduces volatility and increases financial stability.